Good evening and hello to everybody. Good evening, Mark, Chris, Wayne, Andy to Leslie, Chris Charlton, Mark Pritchard. I've already said hello to you. Chris Charlton. Hello, Rob. Great demo, mate, with the purple art finial. Really enjoyed that. Good job, mate. Retired Ilminster, good evening to you. Good evening to Wood Wizardry, i.e. Colin. I'm going back up the chat here. I think that's covered everybody. Oh, Dave Oti, good evening to you, sir. Welcome. I think does that cover it? Jennifer Staunton, good evening, Jennifer. And Roy Waterfall, good evening to you. Now I can catch up and go back down. Let's have a look. Evening, Ronnie. How are you? John M. Luca. If I've missed anybody, my apologies. Just a Basic is your name. I like that. Hello, how are you? Good evening, Fred, Kevin, Andy Heath, Blair, good evening. Steve Jeremiah, hello there, how are you? I think we can have a bit of a vape before we start. Nigel, I've a long walk, how are you? Yeah, it was a bit of a late notification. I wasn't quite sure if I could make it tonight, but here we are. Evening, Steve Matthews. Hodgepodge, good evening, Hodge, how are you? Claire Rubin, good evening. Alan Russell, good evening to you. Paul Morris, Steve Robbins, Archie Mee. David Vaughan, good evening to you, sir. Patrick, good evening. Hope you've all had good weeks. My fourth week at work, this week just gone. It was a little bit of a culture shock, let me tell you. Tony Easton, good evening. Good evening, Russell. How are you? Hi, Pete. Pete Ravenscott, Twisted Tree. How are you, sir? Douglas Mungham, good evening to you. I do, Rob. I have got both, but I haven't looked at them much today. Messenger, I'll check after the live and get back to you if I need to. Andy Tonelli, how are you, mate? Leisure, Cut Sand Wax and Admire, how are you? Forking Owls, good evening, Forking. MK, hello, Mr. MK. Mr. Mike. MK is my work colleague, young Keith, I think. Am I right, Keith? Richard Old, good evening to you. Harvey Klein, no video. Oh, has everybody else got video? Could somebody just say yes? Hi, Roy Newman. I really wish my work. Could somebody just acknowledge the fact that they can see me? Because Harvey Klein can't get video. Yes. Okay, that's good. Okay, fine. Thanks very much. It's at your end, Harvey, I'm afraid, not mine, which makes a change. It's normally my problem. Okay, thanks. Thank you, everybody. Oh, dear. Hi, Trevor. Gav, good evening to you. Les, good evening. It's not Les. Les, you're not Les Barker by any chance, are you? Simon Benny, you're getting on early question in. You okay, any thoughts on what finish to use to waterproof vases, goblets, etc.? I don't actually use any waterproofing finish, Simon, but you can use There are several finishes you can use which are water resistant. You could use resin, and there is also Plasticoat. I'm not quite sure who makes it, but Plasticoat is another very popular covering for a waterproof or water resistant goblet, vase, whatever. That's all right, Ridley. Good evening to you. So you're not late. I actually always start a little bit early because I like to have a chat to everybody before I start. Oh, Les in Devon. Okay, mate. No, it's just Les Barker's a friend of mine from Australia, and I just thought he might be on, as I haven't heard from him for a while. Adrian Olsen. Good evening to you, sir. Are you well? And as I always say, Steve Robbins, good evening. If I have missed anybody saying good evening and welcome, please accept my apologies. Good afternoon, Leroy. How are you? Peter Kipfer. All right, okay, cups and goblets to use. Yes, well, as I say, there are those two that I know of, and I'm sure there are a few more water-resistant coatings that you can use. Julian Clifford, good evening. And Clive Perrott, good evening to you and welcome. Little vape. Always get told off for doing this. Mr. Colin King, good evening to you, sir. How are you? Right. Okay. Oh, and on my last live, that impromptu one where I started to turn that Gonçalo Alves hollow form, quite a few of you asked to have a look at it when it was finished. I have put it up on social media, but I've got it here as well. Very pleased with it. I'm not often very pleased with something, but I was very pleased with that. Hodgepodge question. I'm looking at making a storage shelf for jaws similar to yours. Is it just a simple shelf with V-screws glued to the plywood? Yeah, it is basically, Hodge. What I've got here are two 3/4 ply, and what I've done to them, I've got two together and then just cut out the V grooves to slot them in, 45 degrees or a 90-degree cut. And I find it works very well. And if you've got sort of longer jaws, you can add an extra piece on just to give it that bit of support if you need to. Good evening, Mr. Stratton. How are you? Are you well? I've got to showcase a bit of your Tanga Tanga, Mick. Trevor Doran, could you be flute player, Mike, the way you hold that vape? Yeah, I could be, actually. Pied Piper of Bedfordshire. That's me. Just to let you know, there's going to be a... That's okay, Hodge? My pleasure, mate. Did I say hello to you? Hi, Bram? No, I didn't. You've only just arrived. Good evening, Bram. Nice to see you, my friend. I was going to say, did I say hello to Wayne? But I'm sure I did. Gareth Silk, good evening to you. How are you? Just a couple of minutes and we'll get started. Just to let you know, the ones that are here already, it's going to be a slightly different format because I spent, must be an hour and a half, getting this into a bowl blank. So I've put a little 5-minute video together of me doing it, a bit, you know, fast forward, etc. for the newer turners, so they know what I did to actually get to this state. Just so you know. Hiya, Mike. Thank you. Mike Scorp. Hello, Mike. Big fan. About 2 meters in diameter. Sorry, I don't quite get that one. Evening, Paul Connolly. How are you, sir? Am I going to colour my piece? Like, no. I've got the colour in, but I don't, very often. Good evening, Mark, the gentleman woodturner. How are you? Nice to see you. TJ, good evening. Paul Smith, good evening to you. I think I'm... Oh, Paul Smith, how are you? Are you well? A couple of minutes and we'll get started. What I will say to you all is I might not actually finish this tonight, and I'll go through that when I sort of start the live proper at 7:30. Benjamin, good evening. How are you? Why is there a picture of the dude from Breaking Bad on the wall? Yeah, nice one. Right, let's have another quick play on the flute. That's a good idea, actually. This is not a vape. This is... Good evening, Darren. How are you? Yes, Nigel, it is, but it won't be going for at least a month because they're closed for a month. Marvellous, isn't it? Well, I'm sorry about that, Mike. I do apologise. Keep practicing with the centre finder, Paul. It will come to you. It will come. Bartholomew, good evening. Good evening, Deborah. How long have I been woodturning? I've been woodturning since 2000 and the end of 2011. December 2011. Okay, I think we'll get started. Right, this is official now. Good evening, everybody, and welcome. And if I've not said hello to you and welcomed you, my apologies. Tonight's video, or tonight's live, is going to be a platter, which at this stage looks like that. It's 18 inches across. I've already, as you can see, I've done some marking out to save the time on the live, and I'll explain why in a second. I've already marked out the area for the mortise. I'll be putting that onto my big 4-inch M jaws, Axminster M jaws. That's going to be the foot. I have faced off the front here. Overhead is fairly true as well, and I have a 6-inch faceplate with all 8 screws, 30mm screws, because I don't like really putting a faceplate on end grain, because this is an end grain turning. So, and also if you've got grub screws on your faceplate, don't forget to anchor them down onto your spindle for safety. And I've also very roughly trued up the back as well. Now, the reason for me doing what I'm going to do is to save time. The blank is fir, it's end grain. It was a Christmas tree holder, which I'll also say in the little video I put together to show you the newer turners how I got to this blank as it is, as you see it now. Because it took me about an hour and a half, an hour and 3/4, and I really didn't want to spend that time getting to this stage on a live. So I had this idea, not sure if it's going to be acceptable, but it's that hour and 3/4 is down to just over 5 minutes, and that goes through the process I used to actually get to this stage. So that's what I'm going to do on this one, and it'll explain basically what I did. Now, it started out at 20 inches. I won't go into anything. I've got a little list here of stuff, basically again aimed at the newer turner, and I have to say that I wasn't looking forward to turning this at all. It's my son's. It held a Christmas tree, an artificial Christmas tree. He wanted a bowl out of it. Him and his partner wanted a bowl out of it, so I said I'd see what I could do. There are a lot of small cracks in it, little hairline cracks, etc. It's soft wood. It's not an enjoyable turn, but this is what we do for family. So I thought I'd bring you along on the journey it'll either succeed or it won't. So what I'm going to do now, it's going to be a 5-minute video explaining how I got to this, and then we'll go live and start turning the bowl. So this is recorded earlier today. So this is earlier on today, and this is a piece of fir which my son gave me, which housed a Christmas tree, a fake Christmas tree I might add, for many years, and he wanted a bowl out of it. Well, I've never turned fir before. It's going to be an end grain turning, and there's a lot of clunkety clunking work to be gone on here to get it anywhere near true. So rather than bore you with that, my intention is to do that before I start my live. Now it's about 20 inches across at its widest point here. I've cut it very crudely on the bandsaw, and it'll end up at around the 18-inch diameter if all goes well. There are some cracks etc in it, so this might be a 2-parter or it might be a very short 1-parter. Now at its widest point, excuse it being upside down, let's go to the overhead, it's 4.5 inches wide, and at its narrowest point it's 4 inches. Now you can see there's quite a deviation there, and that's got to be rectified as well of course as rounding off the square bits at the edge. So that's where I am at the moment, and hopefully when I go live tonight I'll just put this up for you to look at very quickly before I actually start to try and turn a bowl from this piece of fir. Okay, so I'm going to just flatten off this here as well, which will save time when I actually go live. Again, tool rest low, handle low, and just let the wood come onto the edge. I'm trying to stay out of the way of the camera, so it is a little bit awkward. Hopefully you can see. Not trying to force it, just let the wood come. I keep on saying, just let the wood come onto the edge, and that way then it's a slow process, but you get the job done and you reduce drastically the chance of a catch. And when it starts to move too much, go back, and you'll soon establish, like we did on the other side, a flat, and then you know that's how far you need to go. Because you won't get any more bouncing. and just work your way towards the middle or the edge of the faceplate. So you get the idea, and now we'll go back to live. Okay, so now we're back live. Good evening, Yvie, and good evening to anybody that arrived. Steve Twaddell, Leona Fay, and a few others too. Okay, the reason for that was for the new Woodturner, to show you how I got to this situation. The wood is very soft. It turns okay. I don't know how it's going to end up, but what I will say is, for anybody doing anything like this, make sure your tools are sharp. I was sharpening my bowl gouge on an extremely frequent basis. I've got a few notes here which I think are important. When I started turning that, it was at around 400 RPM, just under, and I'm now able to do 500, 550, 600. You don't need to go any higher than that with a big piece like this. Basically kept the handle low and don't force the tool into the work. Let the work come down onto the edge, and that way you won't get any fight back from the wood. Just let it do its thing. That's the easiest thing. And there was a hole in the middle, as I explained earlier on, which the this artificial Christmas tree was in, and I filled that with CA and sawdust, and it's not far from the other end, so it might even go through, but it is what it is. If it wasn't gem, I wouldn't be doing this. What you do for family, eh? Okay, so with all that said, I don't think there are any questions. Why do you have to sharpen so much for the softwood brick house? The reason for that was because there was a lot of clunking. I take an opportunity like this with an odd piece of wood to practice, if you like, as well, experiment with different cuts, different angles of the tool to the work. So there was an awful lot of, there were a couple of staples in there as well, but to get the best out of it, I sharpened an awful lot. The wood is about 14%. So the main reason is the fact that you are doing a lot of air to begin with to get it all round and to get it all as stable as you can. So that's just my advice. Okay, it could end up being a funnel rub-a-dub. Of course it could. Okay, so let's get on with turning this. First thing I'm going to do is put my face protection on. And I think it's been proven you could hear me through that. And I'm going to start off with a 1/2 inch bowl gouge, freshly sharpened, and also a wide parting tool. Now the first thing to do is to establish the mortise, which is what I'm going to do. And let's see. Because it might have dried out a little bit since about midday. You can get up to just over 500 revs, which is not bad. Okay, so I'm going to use this, it was a Badan at one stage, and all we're going to do now is just to establish the mortise. Now I don't want to go as deep as I would ideally like, because as I say, the hole that was there is quite close to what will be the bottom of the bowl. And if this turns into a part 2, then it will do. I don't intend to go on for hours and hours. The beauty of having a mortise is you can actually do the sanding and the finishing when you've actually turned the inside of the bowl, which is something I might do. Now again, for the newer turner, when you get near the middle, the wood is obviously turning slower than the outside, so your rate of feed into the wood has to be less. Just let the wood come onto the edge and do the job. Just get rid of the little nub in the middle. I want to go a little bit deeper. That should do it. So just go along towards the middle, keeping the same depth that you've created. As you can see, a few shavings, but an awful lot of quite damp dust. On the moisture meter it was showing 14%, but it might be a bit, actually, might be a bit wetter, a bit damper towards the centre. It's nice and steady. It turns quite nicely, but the thing is, it's because it's a soft wood, you don't get that really nice, the nice shavings and the streamers coming off it. So there you go. Okay, now because the M jaws are dovetailed, I'll just put a dovetail in there, and this is an old skew chisel which I've got at the right degree for the dovetail. So just again, put that in, and that forms the dovetail. So now we've got the mortise formed, ready to accept the chuck later on. Now you can see already cracks here, there's quite a few little radial cracks here. I'm not near the centre is not near the pith, so the next job is to start to shape the outside of the bowl. It's just going to be fairly straightforward shape. Start off by knocking the corners off, handle quite low, doing a pull cut, just start to bring it round. Might go onto the overhead just for a minute here, so you can see me pulling it round. Just taking the corner off. Taking quite big cuts here. But I'm not going to rush. Rubbing the bevel or using the bevel as a guide, not pressing, just letting the wood come down onto the edge. It'd be interesting just to see because a pull cut doesn't normally give a very good finish, but that's not too bad considering what it is. So what we'll do now is to get the start the shape round here with a pull cut to about here, and then I'll start using a push cut. Now when you have a mortise like this, let's go on to the end one again. When you've got a mortise, again I keep saying for the newer turner, when you've got a mortise like this, you want a fairly substantial bit of wood there, because the jaws are going to be expanding into this recess, so you want that fairly thick, especially on a piece like this, because there's a lot of weight here, so that you've got enough wood to actually support the chuck. So again, with a pull cut, just coming through, not doing any shaping as such here, just establishing this little trick I got off Martin Saban Smith is your foot. If you make just a little bit of a chamfer there, it's not a straight side. It just makes it look a bit aesthetically better, that's the word. So we want to get rid of all this wood here so we can pull cut, or we could use a push cut. We'll do a pull cut for a bit. But what I like to do is to get into a push cut as soon as I can, because I find you get a better finish. So let's just put it there, and we'll start a push cut. Lift the handle, start to get. It's not right, we'll get there in a minute. Look at that surface. Yeah, you see, it's not too bad. Not too bad. Right. Let's go back to the pull cut just here a bit. Let's put that down a bit. Just to bring it round. Now all I'm doing is rubbing the bevel. Now that noise there means that I'm not actually getting, let's just try something here a minute. Let's get a fresh edge. It always amazes me actually with this sort of wood how quickly it takes that edge off your tool. And I always say, when you are thinking you need a fresh edge, you do. Let's hope that stays in. Just using the wing to get some wood gone from here. Not going to be a nice finish, but I'm not worried about that at the moment. Now, as you can most probably tell, I am not a bowl turner per se. I don't turn loads of bowls. So what I tend to do is each time I turn a bowl, I try different techniques, which doesn't really help with becoming au fait with a certain way of doing it. But it works for me. Right. Don't forget to turn the lathe off. Now I go to a push cut. I will say that if this ends up to be too cracked, then it'll be a very short demo. Now I'd be inclined to try this push cut method. It's basically something that I was watching Stuart Batty do with his 40/40 grind, and I must be honest, it's not the easiest. I mean, I could turn the headstock, but the reason I don't do that is a lot of people haven't got swiveling headstock, so it's not cheating, but I normally would do it if I was doing a bowl on my own. But you've got to try things that different ways. So get that bevel and almost like a rowing boat, if you like. You're rowing. have a look at that surface. It's not too shabby for a non-bowl turner. I've got these cracks here, but I'm not too worried about those. Right, what I've got to do is just give it a quick sharpen, because I do like a sharp tool. And I think I could possibly be guilty sometimes of putting an edge on when it isn't really necessary. But with the Pro Edge, it's so quick. It takes literally seconds. That's the one end. Just talk amongst yourselves, as you do anyway. And this is the other end. That's all it takes. Job done. Back in the handle. And rinse and repeat. You've just got to get that sweet spot, which is there. Now when I come round this time, see, I'm basically doing a pull cut, but I'm pushing. Take a lot of wood off there, go a bit less. Pick up the cut here. Should stop the lathe. I am taking very heavy cuts. Yeah, it's taking shape. I think we'll do one more here and then do a finishing cut. Got a bit of a knocking. I've got the Ed Oliver knocking sound. It's the little bit of pippiness there, look, and that looks as if it's going to be holding itself together, which is good. Pick up the cut again. Lifting the handle slightly as I come round the bend there. It might look as if I'm putting a lot of effort into this, but I'm really not. I'm just letting the wood come onto the edge. I keep on saying that. It's so important because it's not a fight. It's an enjoyment, and if you put, you don't get all tense, Just once you've got that sweet spot with a sharp tool, all I'm doing with my left hand, all I'm doing there is putting downward pressure onto the tool rest. The bounce in there is coming from that inclusion and a bit of pippiness. Now what I'm going to do is, yeah, I'm quite happy with that actually. It just needs a little bit of refining, which I'll do in a second. Take a break for any questions. See, I'm not like Ed, I don't just carry on regardless. I like to stop and have a chat. It's only been going half an hour and we've virtually done the outside. So yeah, I'm quite happy with the way that's looking at the moment. It's not the way that everybody would turn a bowl, I don't think. Everybody's got their own methods. But as I say, because I don't turn an awful lot of bowls, I tend to use them as experimentation. Like this one now, this is one that I've enjoyed doing, basically, although I wasn't looking forward to it, because I've found a couple of new moves, if you like, which I'm happy with. Question from Nigel. Mike, is there, right, if there is end grain on either face, could the edge have been taken down to round with a spindle roughing gouge? Nigel, all I'll say to you is I would never put a spindle roughing gouge anywhere near a bowl for whatever reason. You can do it with a bowl gouge adequately and a lot safer. I've just got this, few people disagree with me. They say that yes, you could square up the outer edge of a bowl with a roughing gouge, but again, with the greatest respect, why would you want to when you've got a bowl gouge in your hand? I can't see the point in taking the risk. I've seen some very nasty injuries with spindle roughing gouges. They're not designed for bowls. There are different forces at work with bowls. They're designed for spindle work only. Very thin tang. You've only got to look at it. I mean, there's a very thin tang there. These are not meant for the forces that are exerted from a bowl. So I don't wish to sound pious, Nigel, but in my opinion, never put a spindle roughing gouge anywhere near a bowl. End of story. That's my personal opinion. That was a beautiful job you did on that bit of... Oh yes, thank you. Oh yeah, I meant to, I was going to show you, you guys that were here at my last impromptu live. I started a piece of Gonçalo Alves for a hollow form, one of the hardest woods I've worked with, and quite a few of you said, show us when you've finished. Well, here it is in all its glory. It stands at 7 inches tall, and I think it's 5 inches, and the Gonçalo Alves was given to me by Graham Light, who's just made a comment on there, and the Tanga Tanga finial, that wood was given to me very kindly by Mick Stratton when he visited a while ago. So, and it's all hollowed out, very smooth inside, surprisingly, and that's the finial I'm going with at the moment. The beauty of these things is I might put another one on, I don't know, let's see, but that's it anyway, and the bottom's all nicely finished and signed, and it's a lovely wood. It is a really nice wood. So thanks for that wood, lads, I appreciate it, very kind. Quick vape. Let's have a look at the, should take any strength, which for the correct grind and sharp tool should just flow. Yes, that's right. Tracey Leon is right. If you're fighting it, something that, yes. Basically, what quite a lot of people are saying here on the chat, if you're fighting a bowl, if you're putting a lot of effort into it, you're doing something wrong. I mean, we all do things wrong. I don't do things perfectly every time. I'd like to make the man that does. But well, there are a few, unfortunately. Ed Oliver being one of them. But no, on a serious note, it takes time to practice. But I always. Every turning is a practice session, if you like, till you get the muscle memory. I favour, you can hog wood away with a pull cut, but if as soon as you can get into a push cut situation, you get a much better surface. Once you hit that sweet spot and the bevel is riding, not digging in, the bevel is just there as a guide, and it'll just go on its own. You can just guide it through. That's my opinion, of course. Nigel, it was only because I was looking at it as a big diameter spindle, but I agree with you. Yes, I can understand the reasoning why people will say, well, why can't you use it on the end? You can do, I suppose, but again, I go back to say, why would you bother? You've got a bowl gouge in your hand, and it does the job as well. Maybe not quite as quick, but it certainly does it a darn sight safer. That's my opinion, and I'm not part of the safety police, but I do believe in trying to keep all my fingers and bits and bobs intact, especially at my age. Oh dear. Yes, I did just say, Ed. Hello, Derek, how are you? Yeah, I did. Tongue in cheek, of course. The 40/40 grind Stuart uses was difficult to perfect and sharpening method, but after I did, it changed my entire world. I bet it did, Brickhouse Craftworks. I haven't actually mastered the art of hand sharpening or freehand sharpening, and I do appreciate, I use a 55-degree bowl gouge most times. That's my preferred angle, and using that push cut, you do have to alter your gouge, because obviously the wings are a different degree than your nose bevel because of the way I sharpen, or you sharpen with a jig. So there is a bit more body movement, if you like, to get round there. But the actual 40/40 grind I've never tried, but the method of doing a push cut from as near the middle as you can, I practice that a lot, and it works quite well. Steve, how are you? Steve Tudell, I missed you, mate. What's the meaning of Ed? The meaning of Ed is 43. Oh dear. I was going to say, it's 43, Joseph. It's not 42, just because they say it on Red Dwarf. Douglas Mungham, question, is a vase classed as a bowl or a spindle? A vase is a spindle, because it's basically end grain. The grain is running along the bedways, if you like, parallel to the bedways. Because what you're basically doing with a vase is you've got a spindle, you're doing it to round, or you can shape it, but it's not a bowl. It's a different thing. With a bowl, you've got end grain, cross grain coming, and you've got totally different forces coming down. I have seen people actually hollowing a bowl with a spindle gouge, a spindle roughing gouge, and I just shrink. Terrible. Anyway, if you're a new turner, just the shafts and make your own handles. Yeah, Douglas, it all depends on the grain orientation. Typically vases are in spindle orientation, grain parallel with the lathe. Yeah, that's correct. Alex, check out Kronos Tools, the top boy turnings. Paul Smith, question mark, how deep was your mortise? The mortise is not, as I did explain, it's not as deep as I would ideally like it, because I've got this problem with a hole that has been bored through this wood before. I'm sure it's going to be enough for the jaws. Ideally, you want to go down at least, on a piece like this, I would say about 3-4 mil. But it's a dovetail. It's strong jaws, there's a good bit of wood there, and I will bring the tailstock up to begin with anyway, so I'm quietly confident it won't fly off. Barry's Wood Creations, good evening, how are you? Are you well? Douglas Mungham, but you're turning an end grain bowl. Yes, I'm turning an end grain bowl, Douglas, I quite agree with you, but the forces on a bowl are far different to that of a spindle. That's all I can say to you. I know it's an end grain bowl, but I still wouldn't go anywhere near a bowl with a spindle roughing gouge. Okay, and that's just me. Sears end grain, would a tenon be more stable than a mortise? I personally, reason I don't like doing end grain stuff, end grain bowls anyway, big bowls, is because the fibres will compress. I mean, with this, I will check periodically that the mortise is solid, as I would with a tenon, because you're squashing the fibres. If you've got cross grain, the fibres are less susceptible to compressing than on end grain. So the end grain part of that tenon will compress, but the side grain will remain more stable, if you like. Being no expert, but wouldn't the bowl benefit from a damping down a bit to swell the grain and make the cut easier? It's 13-14% actually, Fred. So I don't think it's not a wet turning. It's a non-dry turning, if you like, if that makes sense. Shay, sorry, just back, Mike. You will get a smoother cut if you push cut rather than the other direction. An end grain bowl is basically a giant spindle. Yes, and if you think about it, you're turning uphill. Yes, I know, but yeah, okay. I appreciate what you're saying. What you're saying is I should go overhead, tailstock. Are you saying, Shay, that I should be going this way? I will try that for my finishing cut. If it goes wrong, I'll blame Shay. As I say, I'm not a bowl turner by trade. I'm not a turner by trade at all. But I very rarely turn. I haven't turned any end grain bowls like this ever. So it's the first for me. Ruben question: would you use a bowl gouge on your beard or a roughing gouge and cut with the hairs or against the grain? I think I would use a skew chisel actually. To be honest with you, yeah, I'd use a planing cut, with the grain on my beard, definitely. Mike, I watched Stuart Batty and he is a magician, yeah, one-handed hollowing, and yeah, I know. Yeah, he is a brilliant turner, as was his dad too. Yes, it could be, Paul. You can turn wet wood. Then what you should do, if you're turning a bowl, leave the walls at around an inch, even as you can when you've done the inside, and then put them into a brown bag or brown paper with shavings and let it dry. It will distort, and make sure that your tenon, always use a tenon, I would anyway, with a centre point, but always make sure your tenon's bigger than you need it, because it's going to warp, it's going to go oval, so you'll have to true that up before you finish turn it. Thanks, Nigel, I appreciate your confidence, mate. Yeah, charity, that's true. That's okay. No, this isn't actually that dry. Just, ooh, I should imagine it's dried out a little since this morning. We'll just see what it's showing in the middle. Yeah, I'm getting 14%, 13.5%, 14% still in the middle. So it's far from what I would term dry. In my workshop, about 8 to 10 is what I term dry, because of the atmosphere in here. A lot of it depends where you are in the country, in the world, in actual fact. Watch out for that crack. Yes, I will. Yeah, that crack is not looking good. It's going right across there, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'll be bringing the tailstock up bed anyway. Right, a quick vape and then we'll carry on again. Dave Stevens, yes, I would. What I would normally do now, shall I be honest with you, what I would normally do now when I see those cracks, I would be filling them with CA glue now. But because it's alive, I'm not going to. Might be a bit foolhardy, but what I'm going to do is to do one final cut on there, Because it's a mortise, I should be able to remount it at a later date, and what I'm going to do is to do some scooping out of the middle, see what the crack situation is like there, and then we might just have to leave it for now and come back to it in a part 2 after I've treated it. There's no way I'm going to fill all those cracks tonight, because there's quite a few hairline cracks, but I've actually on the outside of it, it's actually some of the hairline cracks that were there have disappeared. So we'll see how it goes. Yep. Okay, let's go back to the turning and see how we carry on. Face shield on. One thing I will say as well, not just for turning a bowl of this size, always make sure that you stand out of the line of fire when you can. Yeah, that crack is not very pleasant actually. Yeah, I've got a feeling, we'll see how it goes. As I say, I'm not going to be doing any sanding on this, I don't think, today, but we'll just have one more cut, as they say, just to tidy it up a little bit. Nice and slowly. That's got a nice shape to it there. My word, no tool marks, Ed. Strange for me. Just pick up the cut there. Handle low, pick up the cut. Nice gentle cut. The cracks appearing everywhere here now. They might, we'll carry on. Right, so pick up from here, pick up the cut. And just finish. The end. Now what happened there was I came off the cut a little bit, but I'm not too worried because what I can do is just clean that up a bit. And that's got that. That's better. And quick overhead. That shape, sort of a classic-y shape if you like, for a bowl. That should be okay. Right, so what we'll do now, what I would normally do now is obviously sand and put a finish on, but I'm not going to do that because I think this is going to move a bit more. So we'll spin him around, take it off the faceplate, and just start to take out the inside. So let's put this on there. Hang on, what's going on here? There we go. A bit of a laugh in a minute. You'll see I've got a little message for myself next to the faceplate. And look what it says. Tailstock, bring the tailstock up. So don't forget to bring the tailstock up. Right, just take these screws out. The other thing, as I said, I don't particularly like using faceplates on end grain, but you can see the radial cracks here. I think this could be a very stylish bit of log burning. Anyway, let's have a look. I haven't tightened it up completely yet. Well, it's running through. Right. Just going to bring the tailstock up. That's strange, you've got a strange noise here. Okay, you can see there the CA and sawdust in the middle there. Okay, so let's get that's not too bad. Just do a couple of cuts across here, across the face, just to That's 580 revs. Because this is the uneven wood behind the faceplate. Not that we need to have it that flat here, because it's all got to be turned away, but it just makes for a smoother turn if you can get it as stable as you can. I think that'll do for that. Okay. We'll just start doing a bit of gentle hollowing and just see that noise of the screw holes, so we're not worried about that. As I keep saying, I'm not a bolt turner, but one thing for the newer turners to remember is all this hand does is put weight down to the tool rest. You don't do any manoeuvring with that hand, it's all with your body. And drop the handle slightly as you go towards the middle. Sorry, raise the handle slightly as you go towards the middle. See, if I was weighing the wood turner, I'd have turned this by now from rough, finished it, sanded it, finished it, and sold it. I have never met anybody, with the exception possibly of Mr. Oliver, who turns as quickly as he does. But you see, I've never been built for speed. I used to play second row at rugby, which basically all you do is grab hold of your mates and push forward. Mind you, nowadays I wouldn't be big enough for a wing. Let's just straighten that bit out there. Now I'm thinking it's going to be a fairly chunky affair, this one. If you're still there, Jem, it's going to be a chunky bowl, mate. If it makes it to be in a bowl. And I would think we're looking at something like that is going to be... I'm glad that stayed in anyway. We got that bit of character there. There's not a lot else going for it, apart from a lot of cracking. Okay, let's continue. Yeah, I think that looks okay there actually, so that's what we'll go for. There's a lot of clicking going on, and that is the cracking. I might be totally wrong, although it's absolutely covered with little hairline cracks, obviously radiating from the middle there. But if I can get down to a decent level here, then they're all treatable, I would think. But I think we'll have to let it dry out a bit more before I finish turning it. But hopefully it'll give the, as I keep saying, the newer turners some idea of how, well, maybe how not to do things. But again, as I always say, you can ask 10 turners the same question and you'll get 13 different answers. Because what works for you is the right way. And I'm not getting at you, Nigel, for asking that question about the spindle roughing gouge. The only thing I will say is I don't care who you are. If you put a spindle roughing gouge anywhere near a bowl, whether it be end grain, side grain, whatever grain you like, you're asking for trouble. Right. Now these gouges are M42, so they're chrome cryo from Simon Hope. They hold that edge a really long time, but this bowl is really taking its toll. And I'm going on there thinking, oh, I don't need to change the edge, but I do. And I'm always saying to people, if you have any thoughts that, oh, I might need to go to the sharpener, go to the sharpener. Trying to take too much away there, you see. No, I don't like the sound of this. Now that knocking is the pippy bits, but you can see okay, I'm not sure whether, oh, we've got, excuse me, can't see the computer. Here we are, mate. Oh, look at that. Have a quick wipe down. Hardly a shaving in sight, all dust and chippings. Look. Right, let's take this off a minute. We're going to have a 2-minute break. I have to say, I'm not enjoying this very much. I'm enjoying you all being here, I really am, but this is not the nicest thing to turn, and there's an awful lot of cracking in there. I've got to go a bit further, and I think I'm going to call it an evening and have to work on it a bit. Yeah, Dave Stephen, it is a soft wood. However, there's a little bit, only a tiny bit, there's a little bit of what I would call pippiness in it, and there is a knot going through here. And a few bits and pieces going on here as well, but it's not that so much. It's what's knocking it is the cracking, because there are radial cracks. If I can go back to the tailstock end again, You can see, if I turn that light off, is that better? Yeah, look, you can see it's just full of cracks radiating. This everywhere. But if I get to a stage where I don't know, it's bordering on being foolhardy, I think. I'll carry on a bit further, but I think we might have to call it, that's woodworm dust, yeah, it could be. I think we might have to call it a day. You see, the thing is that it's, and I'm not bothered about the time, and because it's alive, it's something I would think of myself if I was turning on my own. I always like a challenge, but then there gets a point where you think, well, hang on a minute, is this really silly? Is it worth it? And I've done it before, where I've spent a long time on a bit of wood, and you get down and down and down, and it's just not worth it. So you've just got to say, fair enough, not today. Yeah, they do look dodgy. I agree, Shay. But I will say one thing. I'm not going to do a Martin tonight. I'm not going to say, oh well, I'll chuck that and do a goblet, because it's been an hour and a bit already. So I'll have a little go, a little bit more. You see, I still think it's possible to save this at a certain stage, providing it stays together. Yes, I am. I'm heading into a danger zone. I agree with you, Graham. I agree with you. And I'll be quite honest with you, if I was on my own, I might consider carrying on. But I think because there are new turners out there, and I just think it's time to call it a day, actually, on this one. So we'll take some time for questions. I had a feeling this might be the case, but I decided to bring you along on the journey as well. I must probably get lots of dislikes when it's up on YouTube, but to be honest with you, I don't really care. As long as you lot are happy, that's all that matters. Gary Smith, what part of the country are you? I'm in Bedfordshire. Originally from Wales, obviously, but yeah, I've been in Bedfordshire since 1988. See, you know, Shay, being an Irishman, really likes turning end grain bowls. But I will take on board what you said, Shay. This is about the third end grain. The only other one I did was that monkey puzzle bowl, which turned better than this. But yeah, I can understand what you mean by coming from the rim to the bottom, because it's essentially, as you say, a spindle turning. What moisture meter read number is considered dry for bowls? It varies, Patrick. I very rarely get anything under 10% in here, only in the height of summer. It's normally around 10, 11%, which means when it goes indoors, it is going to move slightly. But I tend to term anything over sort of 15, 16% to be wettish wood. Obviously more than that, wet wood. But I very rarely get much, apart from even kiln dried wood will take on the moisture from the atmosphere which my workshop's in. So between 8 and 10% is what I would term dry, for me anyway. Dave Stevens said, good decision, Mike. I'd rather read the chat than see you injure yourself. What you really mean is, Dave, you'd rather look at the chat than watch me turn. I know what you mean. Oh dear. Yes, I think so, Roy, yeah. Who sells the respirator you use? Axminster Tools. It's the, and look, I mean, look at this. That is full. That is absolutely full of dust. And that's just from doing what I've done here. Yeah, Axminster, it's the AP, yeah, APF10. And it's sold at Axminster, and they're back in stock now, because they ran out of stock, but they're back in stock now. All part of my education, Mike, I realised that if it's too big a chunk of wood, don't go near it with a roughing goat. Yeah, I know that. However, I think super glue by the bucket maybe. Yeah, I think it might be right there, Nigel. Maybe 2 buckets. Mike, if as a new turner I was turning this bowl and you were watching me, what advice would you give me? That's the advice you need to give yourself. Yes, quite right, Mark. I quite agree with you, mate. That's why I've stopped turning it. Have some crack instead. Yes, that's a damn good idea. That is, Ridley. It needs to be turned the other way so you're cutting uphill, cutting through the fibres properly and not tearing. Well, I'll appreciate what you're saying there, Tommy. And all I'm saying is the back of the bowl has got a really good surface on it, the way I was cutting it. But having said that, I will try the other way the next time I do an end grain bowl. What tools do I recommend for hollow forms? Dave O.T. asks. I use Simon Hope's carboids. What I was very impressed with is his relatively new hook tool, which has got this one's got a 10mm high-speed steel cutter on it, and I use that practicing on that hollow form, and it did the lot. It's great for going underneath for undercutting, but it also is a mean hollower as well once you get it right, which I managed to do. The time and that was cutting that wood, which is very hard, the Gonçalo Alves. But have a look at the range from Simon Hope. I highly recommend them. That's just me personally. Yeah, you're right there, Steve Twaddell. I just turned a fancy Christmas tree. I think it might end up being a Christmas tree stand again in the fire. Never mind. I hope you're not too upset, Jem, if you're still there. But I will. I'll see what I can do with it off camera. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do an Ed Oliver of about 3 months ago. Could have been until you said it didn't go well, but it is a lovely egg cup. Yeah, I could do that, Ben, but unfortunately he was here early. He was here earlier on watching, so I don't know if he still is here. But if he's not, I'll take your advice and make him a nice egg cup. Oh dear. Roy Newman, would CA help at this point? I'm guessing no. To be honest with you, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I've never actually had anything on the lathe with so many cracks, I must be honest. I thought a lot of them were just hairline cracks, but they're not. They are deeper than hairline. They go into the skull. What selection type of chisels would you recommend a new turner invest in, please? Paul Morris. I'm sure other guys will give you advice as well. I am a firm believer that the box sets that you can get from people like Axminster, from Record Power, to name but a few, Robert Sorby, they will give you the basic 6 chisels, which can do 95% of your turning. So it's well worth. I mean, the other way to go is to see what chisels they have in these box sets and to have a look on eBay for the same manufacturer but second hand and cheaper. But you know, that I would personally go with a proprietary brand of chisel. Basically, you'll get a bowl gouge, a 3/8 spindle gouge from memory, a parting tool, a diamond parting tool normally, a spindle roughing gouge, a scraper, and the dreaded oval skew. And if at all you can find one that's not got an oval skew in it, then I'd go for that one. But that's just me. But with those 6 tools, you can virtually do 95% of your turning. Yeah, I'm not sure whether you're being serious, Ed. Yes, CA it and turn it. Yeah, well, that's what I will have a bash at doing, but I will do that. I'm not going to put 2 bottles of CA in there now, and you lot have to wait 3 hours for it to go off in the middle. I'm not like you, Ed. I don't want CA spraying all over my workshop. But thanks for the advice. I will take that. It's amazing. I've just realised now that I've stopped turning, about 60 people have left thinking this is a swizz. But I don't care, because it means that I'll be back another time, hopefully, with all my appendages intact. Yes, you could use resin. Yeah, definitely, Alex, but I don't use resin. But yes, you could. You could. Mind you, having said that, these cracks at this stage are very, very thin. I don't know actually whether on that rim there's all these cracks, and they're no more than about, at this stage, I mean there's one there that's possibly about 1/2 mil, the rest are under 1/2 mil. So it won't give an awful lot for the resin to adhere to, but having said that, I don't use resin, so I don't know. I use CA glue and coffee grounds. Just wrap some tinsel around it, might call it finished. Yeah, I think Steve, you might be right, mate. I'm off tomorrow, so I'll be having a bash at it tomorrow and see what I can make of it. I'll do my best for the boy. Yeah, you're right there, Rob. Thank you for that. It's too wet. Oh, right. Yes, that's the point, Steve. Thank you. I say I don't use resin. Even have to dry out a lot for resin because, yeah, that's true. Good point. Is it a little different when you see the blank in the flesh, Rob? You can tell better if it's okay to turn on screen. It can look far worse than it is. Yeah, I'm sure it's fine to turn, Tommy. It's just me. I'm just being ultra cautious. Joking, mate. I'm joking. Question regarding chucks. I have kind of sort of narrowed it down to Axminster, but as a beginner, would I be better with the 100 or pay that bit extra for the Evolution? The 100 is a great chuck. I've got one here, which unfortunately I got a couple of teeth off it, but I've had it for 8 years and given it a lot of welly. But the SK100 I bought the first one when they came into stock. I personally think it's worth going for that because it will last you a lifetime. But that's just me. I know it's extra money, but I think they've got a deal on at the moment too, where you get the worm screw and you get the faceplate ring and also the C-jaws, the dovetail jaws, I think. Yeah, you're right there, Frederick. Flying goblets are just about acceptable, but flying bowls are not, especially an 18-inch one like this, 18-inch one like this. Just saved your butt, hand carve it. Oh yes, I can hand carve it. Oh yes, all I got to do is get some carving tools. Thanks for that, Ben, I appreciate it. Florida, my pleasure, mate. Sorry I didn't come to a conclusion, but there you go. These lives, I mean, 50% of me doing a live is to have a chat to you lot, really. Steve Robbins, get a giant force to be. Yeah. It's not a Swiss mic. I find it very interesting to watch you and how you present the tool to the work. I think thin CA may well work. Thank you for your time. Yes, Les, I think it may well. And I will definitely give it a go. And what I'll do on my next live or post on social media, if I get it finished in one piece, I'll post it up. Yeah, that's my opinion. That's my opinion. I mean, don't get me wrong, I know a lot of people like the Sorby, the Patriots and the Novas, all good chucks, but it's just I've always been with Axminster since the day I started, so I'm just Axminster orientated really. But the SK114 is a brilliant chuck, it really is. Mole Valley Baker, Ed's got new carvings. Oh well, I might have to give him a ring then. Douglas Mungham has got a record SC4. Yeah, and I'm sure they're brilliant chucks. The big thing is, Douglas, like with me, as I say, my first chuck was the SK 100, or the Clubman, as they called it then. And the jaws that I bought for that, if you stick with the same manufacturer, they, you know, as you increase your jaw sets, they just fit all the chucks. Mike, personally, I think as a good father, you should get yours in the shop to finish it himself while you stand very far away. Steve, that is a brilliant, brilliant idea. I have missed your banter, mate, I must be honest. Yeah, I'll give Jem a ring and after, I'll keep it now, it should dry out after lockdown is finished. He can come over and finish it himself. Bloody good idea. Pete Twisty, done better than me, Mike. Correctly explained what and why and kept cutting, chatting, thinking at the same time. I struggle with that. Pete, no, it's a lifetime of liking my own sound of my own voice, mate. What I'm basically doing, believe it or not, is just saying verbally what my brain is thinking, and when I'm on my own I'm thinking these things, so I just have to talk. And I talk to myself as well sometimes. Mike, I think as a live, especially for new turners, it was perfect. You showed you were in doubt and how stable a plank is. Stop turning it. Yeah, yeah, I think you're right. I think if it was a recorded video, I would have obviously cut here and I'd have done all the prep on it, and then I'd have explained what I did and whether it was successful or not, and then carried on turning it to a finished piece. But I don't think it's wise to do things like this, even if it was a demo in front of people and somebody somebody like Steve Tordell gave me this blank, I wouldn't carry on turning it. Dave Stephen, they do say if you ask 10 turners a question, you'll get 11 answers. Well, I always say 13 different answers, actually. That's how widely opinion differs. See you, Leona. Take care. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming, my dear. Apologies that there wasn't an end result. No, Hodge, Nova trucks are brilliant. Everybody that's got a Nova truck, I'm going to have a Diet Coke. And I did put a lid on this. Look, so there's shouldn't be any shavings in it or dust. Oh dear. Cool. I'll tell you what. Oh, I tell you what I've got to show you all. People go on about my floor being clean. This is all the rubbish from this one turning, like earlier on today and today as well. You take a look at that. Look at it. But it's all dust. But I should imagine it's a good, I don't know, 3 inches of dust there. Absolute. Look at it. Ugh, not a shaving in sight. Look, all dust. Terrible stuff. So, not a clean workshop, but we'll soon put that right. Hang on, I'm losing my losing my brain. But all of us would turn in. Dear, that's not very kind to Butterfly. Oh, I missed that, obviously. Got to run. Okay, Brickhouse, you take care, mate. Thanks. Oh, lovely. You take care, Seth. All the best. Thanks for coming. Thanks, Adrian. Thanks for coming, mate. Appreciate it. Apologies there was no result. Yeah, you're right there, Hodge. It is like being on the beach, mate, without the sun and the surf. Good night. Good night, Steve. You take care. Have a good one, mate. Thanks for coming. Pete, that dust would be enough reason for me to go looking for another piece of... Yeah, you're right there, Pete. I keep saying, if it wasn't for a special reason, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't. I really wouldn't. But there you go. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it. Dave Stevens says he's been sanding red oak all weekend. I'm farting dust at this stage. Nice one, David. Nice one, David. Good night, Jennifer. Thank you very much for coming. Again, apologies it didn't end up with a finished product. Yeah, okay, Hodge, I might do that when I go in. I keep saying this, I gotta say good night at 9 o'clock, I think. Quarter past at the very latest. Cheers. Thanks very much, Ed. Appreciate you coming, mate. And thanks for the advice as well. Bonjour, BAW. Sorry you've come to the end, mate. You come at the end. I'll just give you a quick look as far as we've got. It's full of cracks, so I'm not carrying on. I don't think it's safe without me treating them first, and then maybe I'll carry on at a later date, but not tonight. Yes, Gary. I think they are. I haven't been there for years, but yes, I think they still sell blank. Whether they're open now, I don't know because of the lockdown, but yeah. Yeah, I could do that actually, Pete. But he's a bright lad. He's a bright lad. He'd know the difference. He must probably counted all the cracks before he brought it to me. Thanks, Leroy. Again, apologies for not having a finished result for you. Thanks, Douglas. Glad you enjoyed it, Robert. Thank you very much. Thanks, Di. Thanks for popping in, mate. You take care. Cheers, Andy. Thanks for coming in, mate. Appreciate it. See you, Steve Pumphrey. Hope to see you next time with a finished item. Not this one, but another one. Yeah, that's a good idea, Florida. Yep, agree there. Good night, Richard. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you from Jordan. Thanks very much for coming. Appreciate it. You can finish the live by flooding the cracks with CA. It will be dry by tomorrow. Yeah, that's a good idea. I could do a quick impromptu one tomorrow then, Pete. That's a good idea. Thanks a lot, Colin. Take care, mate. Cheers. Cheers, Gav. Thank you. Good night, Barry. Take care. I've already thought of that, Liz. I got to get a coffee jar and I will put some dust. Mind you, I've got more coffee jars full of different dust than I've got blanks, I think. Good idea, though. Thank you. That's Caroline. That's very nice of you to say so. Thank you very much indeed. So you don't always have to have an end result, have a good time, do you? Oh, happy birthday, Colbert. You should. Oh, you should be out celebrating. Take care, Nigel. Oh, really? Rather you than me, mate. Osbronus, thank you very much. Thanks very much for turning in. I appreciate it. Good night, Chris Charlton. Glad you enjoyed the time here, although we didn't get a result. Thank you, Frederick. Take care, mate. Cheers, Stuart. Thank you. Oh, not far. I'm about, I don't know, 15 miles north of Luton, I should think. Dave? Not Dave, sorry, Colin. Colin Izzard, yeah. I live in a little village called Houghton Conquest, just outside Bedford, about 5 miles south of Bedford. Thanks a lot, Darren. Again, apologies that the outcome wasn't as... Well, it was expected this, but I was hoping for better. Never mind. Yeah, I'll tell you what, Roy, you never stop learning. Thanks very much for coming, mate. I was just a vape. Good luck with the egg. Thanks, Ben. Yeah, see you later, Radar. There's a great lesson. There's no law saying you have to turn a piece. Each piece should be assessed. Yes, I agree with you, Rob. I missed Joseph's comment. It obviously was sarcastic. I'm learning to play the flute, says Pete. Yeah, very true, mate. Right. Good question. That's okay, yeah. Yorkshire Grit. I've been given a pot of original gratis with some wood, and I've recently purchased... Can I use it successfully without microfine? Yes, you can. Yeah. Microfine is ideal for resin. I did use it on this Sconchalo, a hardwood, but I never use the microfine on. All I do is sanding sealer, Yorkshire Grit, and the wax of your choice, in my case Hampshire Sheen. But yeah, yes, you can use it without the microfine. Bon nuit, Les. Thank you. I'll see you on your next one as well. My next one. Thanks very much. Hey, Mike. I'm now turning boxes with paid for hardwood, not the cheap big boxes store. Awesome. Indian rosewood looks awesome. Yeah, I bet it does. Yeah. It's a very good curve, if you like. You start on cheap free wood, if you like, or cheaper wood, and then when you've honed your skills to a level you're confident, buy some decent blanks, and they're a joy to turn. They really are. STRXVE, I'm fine, thanks, and I hope you're fine as well. The Bear, are you going to be doing another live turn, fella? Oh yeah, But when I can't say it'll be every Sunday now like I used to, because I'm back at work. So unfortunately I can only sometimes give a day's notice. But if I can be in the shop next week, I will be, to do a live, be assured. I've got to do a video as well, mind, in between. Thank you, Adam. Glad you enjoyed it. That's all right, John. Good man, went out for a beer run. Mike, I have a live tomorrow night and have absolutely no clue what to do. Can I ask to choose something? Whatever you suggest, I'll do. Mark, you can't put that pressure on me, mate. By the way, Mark, the gentleman woodturner, is doing a live tomorrow night. So go across and give him some support, as I will if I can make it. What can you turn? I don't know. I'll tell you what then, turn a goblet. There we are. Oh, Nigel, thank you very much. You shouldn't have done that, my friend. But very much appreciated. Thank you very much. Do I have a bandsaw? BAW? Yes, I do. I have a Record Power BS400. I've had it for 8 years. And touch wood, apart from one blade breaking, which is not from Record Power because I don't get my blades from them. Yeah, brilliant bandsaw. Love it to death. Yeah, okay, with rings will do. How about it? Toothpick. Joseph, you're getting very, very sarcastic in your old age, mate. Cheers, Nigel. Cheers, Pete. Oh, thank you very much indeed. I appreciate it. Yes, I think I'll need a little bit more than that. But having said that, all contributions towards my CA glue on this bit, I think I'll have to ask Jem for some money for the CA glue this is going to take. Okay, Bear, thanks very much. Can I do some Christmas ornaments for beginners, intermediates? Yeah, that's the thought. I don't normally. I'm a bit of a Grinch, really, when it comes to Christmas. I don't do craft fairs, so I don't. You know, I've turned obviously a few Christmas trees and some baubles and stuff, but I don't really enter the spirit of Christmas, I'm afraid. But yeah, it's a good thought. I might maybe a Christmas tree and a couple of decorations. Yeah, good idea. Might well do that. Pete's the one. Pete's the one for his Christmas ornaments. Good night, Dave. Thanks very much indeed. Great. I look forward to seeing you next time, mate. Thanks for coming along. I appreciate it. Rub-a-dub. Has to be a flying goblet. No, the rub-a-dub. Other people don't make goblets fly. Just me. That's the point. Yeah, Nigel. Colwyn Way. Yeah, Colwyn Way does some lovely Christmas ornaments. Brilliant professional turner. Turns out of Axminster. Yeah, brilliant. Lovely fellow and a lovely, very, very, very talented turner. Yeah, Christmas bells. I turned a set of 3 Christmas bells once and put the little clangers in them and all. So they belled. Yeah, Dave Stephen, you're right. Shay, BB Turning, he's your man for Christmas ornaments. He makes Christmas what it should be. And I do everything against it. Question, please, from Rob. What other projects do you have lined up, Mike? Do you know what, Rob? I haven't. I don't plan too far ahead. Never have done. I decide possibly the week before. A lot of thought goes into it, although you wouldn't believe so on tonight's performance. But with videos it's different, but with lives I like to keep things a bit different. But you can only turn so many things, I suppose, in the time allotted, which is always more than I expected anyway, time-wise. So Sorry to disappoint, I don't actually plan very far ahead. Good on you, Steve. Nothing being flat out on your baubles at Christmas. Hello, Niantic River Woodcrafting. Chris Neelan from Connecticut. Welcome. Sorry is no turning. I've done what I'm going to do for tonight, but nevertheless. Good night, Colin. Glad you enjoyed. I hope to see you again, my friend. I've just turned this flute. Can you see how cold it is in here? The vapour, the condensation that's coming out of my mouth as I'm talking. Yeah, I'll have to do that, Benja. Oh, that's it. Florida, that is so kind of you. Thank you very much indeed. I appreciate it. You're very kind. All I ever do, Mr. Bearded Fisherman, is I like to look at it this way. I open the door for people, and then what they do when they go the other side is down to them. If I can get the interest going, then I've done my job. It's easy, really. Joseph King, always happy to help, FBO. Joseph, since when have you been happy to help? Rob, it's the French that comes out of my mouth. Oh, yeah, right. The only problem is you look at things and you miss the chat, but there you go. It's funny, actually, for anybody that's listening still. I've been suggested many times to get an earworm and get somebody, and Mark and a couple of other people have very kindly offered to do so. But you know what? The reason I like to do things on my own is if I can't make it, or if something crops up, I can do it on the spur of the moment like I did last time. And I just like being independent. And it's not that I don't accept help. I always accept help gladly. Like the suggestion of Shay doing an end grain bowl, try cutting the other way, which I will do. I might even try it on this, actually, Shay, if you're still here. Off camera, obviously, if it holds together. Where are you sourcing your blanks and stock from? Are you talking to me, Gary? I've been doing it 8 years. I've had a lot of stuff given to me from friends. I've picked a lot of stuff up from local arborists and sawmills. I'm very, very fortunate that I do get sent wood from all over the world, not on a regular basis, but I've got some really good woods that I've had for years I haven't dared touch yet. Always. Oh, Joseph. I really hope that Makers is on this year, next year, so I can meet you again, mate, because I do enjoy your company. Me too, John. Okay, mate, you take care. Oh, COVID nachos, lovely job. Have a good night, John, and thanks very much for coming. Hope to see you again, mate. Thank you, Alan. I appreciate that. Yes, Steve, it amazes me. So yeah, basically, Gary, I very rarely buy blanks, but I've got ash that I processed 6 years ago. I haven't even got to. I've got a lean-to next to the garage here, which is not full of wood, but it's got a lot of wood in it, which I haven't even got to yet. Ever stop the bus? Do you know what? Actually, Mr. Bearded Fisherman, I did that about 4 years ago. Yes, I did. It was about 7 foot long. It was a piece of beech, and it had been felled and it'd been left on the verge. So I stopped the bus. There was about half a dozen passengers on, and they thought I was mad. And I lifted this piece of it was quite heavy too. I dragged it into the bus, put it on the floor, and nobody complained. And then when I got back to the depot, I left it in the inspector's office. Oh dear. I don't think they'd allow me to do that now. Yeah, Shay, I will take your advice. You're never too old to learn, and because I don't, as I say, this is only the second time I've turned an end grain bowl of this size. Maybe if I'd done that on the monkey puzzle bowl, it wouldn't have given me so much trouble. But yeah, thank you. I will definitely try it, and I'll let you know. Don't know when, but I will. Steve, you started doing segmented work. I tell you what, Steve. Thank you, Rob. I appreciate it. It's not, but thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I hope you bought the branch a single, young sir. No, I didn't. I bought a double. It's on a decker, mate. No, I did it in a single, yeah, in a MIDI, actually. Which you know all about. The old B9s, the Volvo B9s, do you remember them? Yeah. Ooh! Yeah, mahogany's nice to turn. No, it's very kind of you. Okay, Gary, you take care, mate. Well, so do I, but I doubt it somehow. But you never know. You never know. No, you see, the thing is, Rob, I really appreciate what you're saying, but I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed watching you yesterday. It's like being there with you, especially the swearing, because that's just what I'm like off camera. It's just that I've been doing it a long time now, and I get used to not swearing on camera. Because some of my very early ones, I put together some bloopers and I couldn't put it out because it was too risque. IOV buses, lovely buses. Yes, they were. Yeah, the old Volvo B9s. Was it B9 or B6? B6s. Not sure. We're getting a bit nerdy now, aren't we, Mark? I should have signed off by now. I'll tell you what, it's funny, and I'll say this for the people that happen to watch this when it's up on YouTube. I was going to start taking them off YouTube, but I thought no, because some people get a little bit of interest out of it. And when people say, oh, it's an hour and a half, it's 2 hours long, you've got a fast forward button. All you've got to do is cut through this chat, or when you see I'm just chatting and nothing else is happening, I'll say it for you people on YouTube that watch this. For the last 20 minutes there's been no turning, and there's no turning from now to the end. So thank you very much indeed for watching. You take care, and I hope to see you on the next one. There we are. That's for the people to watch. Editing is great, Mark. I have to cut at least half an hour out of each video. Oh, only half an hour? I'll tell you what, Shay, my record for intro was I do an intro first, and I always do it in a sequence. I don't shoot the two together and because I might not finish the project. I'll do the intro. Honestly now, it's gospel truth. How many takes do you reckon I took my record? 39 takes of just an intro. Yeah. And even then it's never right. Never mind. It's all good fun. The first Oregonism. I just enjoy the chats. That's very kind of you. The turning is rubbish, but the chat's good. I haven't got a problem with that. People turn up and enjoy themselves, then that's okay by me. They're going to have to like me turning. Tony, Oak Show, good grief, how are you? Lovely to hear, well, to see you, or to hear you, to see you chatting. Give my love to your lovely wife, and it's really nice for you to turn up, although albeit at the end, but nevertheless. Rob, always remember your spelling when swearing. It don't take me that long now, Shay, but in the beginning it did. Well, you've been doing videos a while anyway. Absolutely gutted YouTube didn't notify me of Best Rewind. Well, hello Matt. There's a lot of notifications not going out now via YouTube. They're getting lazy and blaming it on COVID. You're not missing much, mate. I didn't actually turn this bowl because there's too many cracks in it. But we've had a good laugh anyway. That's the main thing. Pat Calloway, a little busy as tropical storm. Oh, good. Well, I hope you're okay. You stay safe, Pat Calloway. Thank you very much for popping in anyway. Thank you, Ridley. Well, tonight you'll enjoy the chatting more than the turning because there's more chatting going on than turning. But that's normally the case with me. You can type as many swear words in here as you like, Rob. It won't bother me, mate. You want to meet my missus? Go. Tell you what. Andy, thank you very much for coming, mate. Appreciate it. Hope to see you again. All right. Oh, okay. Okay, Shay, I'll accept that. I'll tell you one thing though, my arthritis is getting worse, and I'm not playing the old hard done by, but my shoulders and my wrists and my hands. But never mind, we keep going, don't we? We keep going. I'll tell you one thing, when I can't pick up a chisel, I'll still chat. I'll have, when I'm 90, if I'm still alive, and I can't turn, I'll still have the odd live chat. And I'll sit in my armchair and my commode, and we can talk while I'm on my commode. Yes, retired Ilminster, I think you might be right there. Discretion is the better part of valour. Sometimes. Oh, stop moaning, Mark, for goodness sake, man. There's nothing wrong with you. You're only doing it for only attention seeking. Hopefully I know you well enough to get away with saying that. Yeah. I was demonetised in the beginning, not through swearing, I hasten to add, because I didn't know that I was using classical music to as a soundtrack off my wife's CD. A lot of Mozart stuff in the early days of my very first videos. And all of a sudden I got slapped with they banned me from, I couldn't monetize the channel for, I don't know, it was about 18 months, I think. And you know what really annoyed me, and this is being really cynical on my behalf, my most popular video, which has been up about 6-7 years now, got over 1 million views. That's the only one that's ever likely to get 1 million views, was the lidded box, Beginner's Guide to Lidded Box. And it's not monetized. Never mind. But there you go. You learn. Oh, for God's sake. Joseph King, how about some crochet hooks for your missus? Yeah, I could do, but if I wanted crochet hooks, I'd go to somebody who knows how to turn them properly, someone like Shay or you, and I'd have captive rings on them anyway if it was from you, Joseph, wouldn't I? Cheers, Mark, I appreciate it, mate. I'm well known at work, actually, for being very sarcastic, but in a very friendly and humorous way. And if I ever thought I upset anybody through my sarcasm, I would be devastated, I assure you. But I have the mic will take it out of me a lot as well. So if you give it, you've got to take it. And I do. When my arms hurt when turning, I just pop a Viagra. Oh, for those of you who missed that comment, Florida being a fisherman, he says, when my arms hurt when turning, I just pop a Viagra and put my hands in my pockets. Oh, crumbs. Hi, Mike. Would you say is the greatest wood you like wood turning with? Douglas Mole. I would say yew has got to be one of my favourite woods, without a shadow of a doubt. And strangely, I also like what we call olive ash, which is highly figured ash, and you get a texture to it, a natural texture, almost like a smooth rippling, if you like, in it. Ash and beech, love turning beech as well, but yew I think has got to be one of my favourite, and olive. I haven't turned a lot of olive, but the olive I've turned has been superb to turn. So yeah, but I think yew, ash, olive and beech are my well, some of my favourites, but I like all wood really, apart from fir. Don't like fir very much. Rob, I use Beethoven on my videos, but I got the music from you. Oh yes, that's fair enough. I didn't. I got it straight off the CD, Rob. Unbeknown to me. So I had loads of copyright infringements against me. Actually, Shay, on a funny, Brendan, Bacon Soda as he's known on YouTube, Brendan McAreevy from your part of the world, he got slapped with a notice because an ice cream van, he was doing a video on his spud reveal, as he used to do, on a regular basis, and an ice cream van went past, and he was playing a tune, and they had him for copyright infringement. Couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. Gareth Silk. Question, could you show us the bowl gouge you were using up close, please? Of course I can, Gareth. It is a Simon Hope Crown Cryo 1 inch, half-inch bowl gouge. Don't know if that'll pick it up. Hang on, let's do the old thing there. That should pick it up. There you go. That's the grind, swept back grind. I've got approximately 55 degree angle I use on mine, and these are double-ended, and I use a quick release handle. And for the single-ended tools, I use a grub screw handle. So that's it. Hope that answers your question. Well, I've gone back a bit. It's the bus driver's creed, mate. You can't take it, don't dish it out. I'm the same. Totally agree, Mark. Totally agree, mate. Yeah, rubber dub. Yeah, yew is the wood of the gods. Mind you, if you haven't turned olive, rubber dub, olive is very close. Absolutely spectacular wood. Sorry, it's all in the hips. Mike taught me that. Yep, you're right there. Fir should be safe for plywood. Yeah, you're right there. I've seen that one, Mike. So funny. I've forgotten now what we were talking about, Shay. I've blinked since the last one. Yeah, I bet you would and all, wouldn't you, Joseph? Right, sorry, half UK, so I have 5/8 US. Yes, it's a 5/8. Thank you, Pete. I always rely on Pete and Shay and Mark and other people to handle the chat, because they're very knowledgeable turners, and they can normally answer things and also add things that I forget to add. Oh yeah, sure, Matt. Yeah, of course I can. It's not damaged. I'm just going to the bowl to show Matt. No, that's the wrong one. There you go. I think you can see. Yeah, it's just, well, the light's on. See all these? Are you watching, Matt? Can you see all the radial cracks there? There are cracks, and they go right through the wood. They're very thin, and they're not the same cracks on the other side, if you see what I mean. So it needs a lot of TLC. But I just felt that it was a bit foolhardy, especially doing on live, to carry on turning this. I will treat this over the next few days, and with thin CA glue most probably, and then finish turn it hopefully. But not for a video. But yeah, that's the piece. 18 inches, and it's about, I don't know, 3.5 inches deep. So that's the piece that didn't get finished. Darryl Jackson, Mike, I'm not too good with the bowl gouge. What do you think about using a curved scraper for general wood removal instead? My advice, Darryl, is practice the bowl gouge. If you can, join a club. I know it's difficult at these COVID times, But practice, you don't have to practice at full speed. You can practice at very slow speed to get the angle, position of your tool to the wood. And that's my advice. You can use a scraper. There is I always mention Robo Hippie, Reed Gray. He is a professional production bowl turner, and what he doesn't know about scrapers isn't worth knowing. So have a look on YouTube at Robo Hippie, and he will show you how to use a scraper effectively on a bowl, if that's the way you want to go. But my real advice is keep practicing with the bowl gauge. Yeah, it's a shame, Matt. Yeah, I agree. It's, you know, it is what it is. We'll see. It's only fur, and it's for a family member, my son. He wanted it. For what reason, I don't know, because the Christmas tree's been stuck in it for the last few years, but I said I'd give it a go. I was going to say I'll give it a crack, but it's got plenty of cracks of its own. But we'll see. We'll see. Mike, can you do another workshop tour at some stage? I'm not a great one for workshop tours, design and make. I don't want to be a party pooper, and I don't mean to dismiss your question. I've got a garage. It's got tools and a lathe in it, and a few bits and pieces. It's nothing major, but if I get enough people asking, I will do it. But I've done two, and it's not a lot different really from what they are then. Just a few different things in different places. Steve Thomas, take care. Thanks, Steve. You take care, mate. Thanks very much for coming along. Enjoy Steve's premiere. Gareth, Gareth, if you can answer me here, if you're in the UK, well, even if you're not in the UK, if you message me on Messenger, Facebook or something, and rather than tell you here now, we can have a one-to-one over the next couple of days or next week sometime, and I don't mind doing that. We can do it through Zoom or something like that, or even do it on Messenger. If you're in, well, you don't have to be in the UK for that, and we can go through it that way, mate. Always a pleasure if you want to do it that way. Thanks, Darryl. Appreciate it. Yeah, design and make. I wasn't being rude. I assure you, it's just one of those things. I think I've done two, and I think that's enough, to be honest with you. And there's not a lot to show apart from the lathe, as I say, and a few bits and pieces. But if enough people ask, I'll do one, of course, with pleasure. Caitlin, hello. Thanks very much for coming. I didn't know you were here, my dear. Thanks very much for coming. You take care. Good night, Rubber Dub. Take care, mate. You want a tool? Oh, dear. Darryl Jackson, learn tools by practice, cuts, yeah, without trying to learn on projects you want to complete. Yeah, I quite agree with Pete there. What Pete's saying is, I mean, people are very reluctant to practice. I mean, I have done a lot of practice and still do an awful lot of practice. Any bit of wood, just practice the cuts. Get a catch, understand why you've got the catch. I've said this before on beginner's guides and things. Don't be afraid of getting a catch, be afraid of not learning from it. In other words, not understanding why you got the catch. And if you can turn the wood, I did it on a live the other month, last month sometime, you can turn at 100 revs per minute, okay, and get a good cut. Because it all depends on the rate of feed. You know, if you're doing that, you can see exactly where that tool is, where the shavings are coming over the edge, and that will tell you what you need to do to achieve that cut. Gareth Sill, thank you, Mike. Yeah, that's not a problem, Gareth. As I say, I'm off tomorrow and Tuesday, so tomorrow might not be such a good idea. I've got to spend some time with my good lady, but I'm back to work Wednesday. But if you want to get together Tuesday, let's say mid-morning or something like that, give me a message and we'll get together and I can answer your questions, hopefully. And if not, I can put you in touch with somebody that can. What bow gauge would you recommend? Thanks. Do Do you know what? I had a 3/8 bowl gouge for years and didn't have a 1/2 inch. I personally think a 3/8 bowl gouge is great because you can use it on spindles as well for hogging away wood and shaping, and you can turn the majority of your bowls with it. Martin Sabersmith, who is a bowl turner for most of his time, uses a 3/8 bowl gouge. I think Ed Oliver does as well, and he turns a lot of bowls. I like the 1/2 inch, but that's just me. But a 3/8 bowl gouge is a very good investment. I've been doing that on some pine and sycamore. I just can't get the hang of it so far. Wanted to keep doing projects too, though, to keep the interest up. Yeah, well, the thing is, Darryl, seriously, and I'm not being an old codger, your projects will benefit by the practice. And you'll lose interest if you don't practice, if you see what I mean. It's not the most interesting thing in the world, practicing, but what is interesting is when you get that cut right in practice, it's a great leap forward. So persevere with it, seriously. Take care, Alex. Thank you very much indeed. Glad you enjoyed it. Thank you. I got a good catch on Indian wood now. I learn how to replace the bearing. Yeah, that's true. I got a video on lathe bearing replacement, actually, if you need to look at it. Thanks, John. You enjoy your nachos, mate. You take care. I'm going to be going in a minute. I've already overstayed my welcome, as I always do. No live is alive without it being at least 2 hours in my book. Yeah, you take care, Gav. Thanks for coming, mate. Appreciate it. Right, people, I'm going to say good night. Thank you very much indeed for coming. Again, apologies for not getting a finished piece, or a nearly finished piece, as I usually manage to do. But it is what it is. Thank you very much for sticking with me. Thanks for coming, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. You take care now, and good night.